she's topless. And so it's not meant to be like a Playboy magazine type topless or what you see on, your phone. But guess what? I'm 71 and I still have this picture of this woman. And it's not a pretty picture. I mean, it wasn't like she was a model type. She was not a model. But my mind took a picture of it and there you go, right? So it stays with us big time. And so we have to fight for that at all times to learn to practice turning our eyes, especially even from something like pornography. So there are 5, I think they're all going to come up, yeah. So there are 5 things here. First of all, this is what happens with these kids here who are in it, but it's also what's happened to some of you. You view pornography and your mind takes a picture of it, okay? Now women look at pornography different than men. So men, it's the visual. For women, you're actually more engaged emotionally. So what we're finding with women today is that they might be Jennifer and now their name is Lacey and it's Lacey@gmail.com and now they're having conversations with people, but they're saying what they would do, how they would feel, and women tend to almost fall in love with pornography. The men are just like looking at lusty pictures. Okay, it's actually as dangerous or more with women, what we're finding. Okay, and again, remember it went from age 14 to 11.8 of when they're seeing it. Then you go straight to addiction. Addiction, this is the simplest form of addiction. There would be therapists who would disagree with me on this, but addiction just simply means I want more. So you've viewed pornography and now you say, you know what, I'd like to see that again. Okay, so now you're looking for it and you see it again. So that's the simplest form of addiction. Then you move to escalation. So you're now not just seeing it 1 or 2 times, but you're like, you know what, I'd like to see that again. What happened was you viewed pornography, man or woman, and a dopamine drop happened. And it's the same exact dopamine drop as when a couple is having sexual intercourse. So the dopamine drop gets you excited. And so you go, I want to see that again. So you move to that again, and then you get desensitized. And what desensitized means is that what was gross a month ago isn't as gross now. Now you can kind of handle whatever that was. So let's say it's threesomes. That was gross three weeks ago, 3 months ago, whatever. But now you're going, I'm curious to know what that's like. And you know what site to go to, and so you go to that site and you see that and you go, well, that's crazy. Okay. Then you begin to act it out. So again, that's the escalation process. And acting it out might mean that for, like, say, a guy, it might be on his phone and he's looking at this stuff and then he has a masturbation experience. For a woman, it could be the same exact thing. But then they want to move to actually doing it. And so a lot of the first sex acts today with your generation is imitating the art. See, my fingers are quoting, I'm not calling it art, but the art of pornography. And so that's where it gets kind of weird. So again, when I said red flag yesterday about marriage, I'm saying red flag. Pornography addiction is a red flag. So I'm on a radio show and people call, and every time I'm on the show, a woman typically calls, my husband is addicted to porn, what do I do? You can't really work on the marriage until he gets rid of his porn addiction. And it's not the porn addiction is sometimes stronger than like alcohol addiction or drug addiction. It's really, really hard. So there are things you can do. You need constant accountability. I'm in a relationship right now with a guy who was really struggling with porn. And I see him, he goes to my church, and I'm not at our church every Sunday. Like this week I'll be in Houston speaking. But when I see him, he comes in, and if he's had a good week, his hand goes like this, and if he's had a bad week, it goes like this. And then I give him a high five, and then I talk to him later. See, and meaning I know to call him and go, how's it going? And I'm kind of like his accountability partner. So if I'm gone, I'll go high five, low five. And he'll write, crap, low five. Okay, let's, can we talk at, 8 o'clock or whatever? And we talk. So I can't be the only accountability person in his life, and he needs to jump farther through a couple more hoops. But that's a good start. I saw a hand, yeah, Brody.
This is like a really low percent, but it's still a lot of people. If you look at a ton of porn, like you'll just see all these guys are making tons of money off of having sex. I want to do this, and then they become porn stars, and then it's just like a trickling effect because there's just more and more and more people doing this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's massive money in porn. You're right. Yeah, you're right. But that kind of a lifestyle, typically those people don't last long, and there's, drug addiction. You look at prostitution, so much, they feel so bad about themselves that, they end up being, on drugs and whatever else. So, it's a tough lifestyle. So these people who go, yeah, I could make money having sex behind the camera. And for one thing, it's not even real sex. It's kind of a fake. So it's crazy. They're taking pills to make it work for them. At this point, it's really that's a complicated thing. I have talked to a couple of porn star type people that go, my life is a mess. So you're right. But I've talked to a lot of people normal, just like you, who are in the church. If I talk about this in the church, the percent of people who are struggling with it is crazy today. So again, but a lot of them don't have a theology of healthy sexuality that they're living out. And they don't have all the stuff we talked about yesterday as well. Okay. Then you move back to, I guess that's it. You move back to the integrity code. How weird. It's not working. So you can do it. The integrity code, in honor of God, my family, and the future He has planned for me, I commit, with God's help, to live my life with sexual integrity. That's the goal. Okay. Let me show you how now again, half of you aren't doing youth ministry, but I want to show you. Homeward has a course that is used in churches all over the country and also in the Espanol world, in Espanol. But it's funny, I had a meeting with her today. Her name is Erin. I'm going to, come on, Erin, show up.
I'm Erin Shaw, and I want to invite you to an honest conversation about one of life's most awkward yet important topics.
This is for kids.
Sex. Conversations about sex can bring up all kinds of weird emotions, not the least of which is awkward. But that's not a reason to avoid the topic altogether.
So, if everybody's doing it, then what's the big deal?
Where do you go with your questions? There are lots of voices telling you who you are, how to dress, what to think, how to feel. So how do we know what to listen to? Who can we trust to guide us?
When we treat others with radical respect, we honor God, we make our lives and relationships better, and we reflect God's love to the world all around us.
Now, I know you might be thinking, what? I don't need guardrails. I have good intentions, but what if intention isn't enough?
As you think about the path from where you are now to where you want to be, who are the friends that can help you get there? You'll hear personal stories, helpful advice, and truth from the Bible about how to make wise choices when it comes to love, sex, and dating.
Imagine being able to look back on this stage of your life without regrets about the way you handled relationships. You're not going to get there by accident. You're going to have to decide in advance what guardrails to put in place to get to where you want to be.
Join us for a student's guide to sexual integrity.
So the reason I showed you that was because that's how you talk to kids. Notice that they didn't come down on them. Like the guy with the curly hair, his thing was on pornography, and we start with him holding a snake. And he's holding this like big snake. And he's talking about playing with the snake, and then he goes, he gives somebody else the snake off camera, and then he comes back on. But what he's kind of showing is that you're really playing with fire here if you kind of continue to go down that road. But notice those guys were up. They were talking, all the stuff that I just mentioned, that's in here. Like the girl who opens it, she's kind of putting together this stool the whole time in her little, her presentation. But she's like, hey, it's awkward, so just get it over with. It's going to be awkward, right? But what I find is that if I'm willing to talk about this to students, they'll come and talk to me because they go, you know what, this guy's safe. My parents aren't safe because my parents are going, don't do it, or silence. They won't even talk about it. I would have never talked to my mom or dad about it because they never talked to me about it. So I just thought, well, they're not safe. I mean, I probably didn't think that in my head. I just didn't do it. So again, that's why I showed you that 1 minute little clip. It's the clip that we show when people are going to buy the course. There's a course that you use at churches and stuff for students. Okay. So I want to give you a case study. I'm going to do some case study. We have a little bit of time. So I want to give you a case study. So now it's your job to talk, okay? So I want to hear how you do this. So one of the case studies is one I kind of mentioned already. A girl who is like 13, she dresses kind of grunge. I think of grunge because I think of the Northwest. And I like the grunge look, actually. But she dresses, she wears kind of like boots. She wears jeans. She never wears pink. She never puts a bow in her hair. She wears, it's funny I'm saying now because I've hassled all you women about having sweatshirts. She has sweatshirt, like an oversized sweatshirt. And that's kind of how she looks. I mean, that's just what she does. She dresses like that. That's comfortable to her. There's probably women in here where that's comfortable to you. But she gets mistaken for being a lesbian. So she goes to camp, and you're a camp counselor, and she goes, I'm not sure if I'm a lesbian or if I'm straight. What do I do? It's a case study. I want you guys, yeah.
So many people, okay.
Huh?
Like, it's absurd.
Okay.
And like, I just,
So you have that same thought. You would come to somebody and go, how do I handle this?
I just shrug it off.
Yeah, okay. So she's not struggling at all. So what do you think, what would you say to her? What are some insight? Yeah.
I would say, tell me more.
Good. Actually, really good that you just said that.
Just like wanting to go clear her out, and then I would give her some feedback.
That's really good. By the way, and we're going to talk about communication next, but I told Tucker that it was tomorrow, but it's actually next. But what you didn't say, you didn't stop her, because if you would have said, well, you're not, or here's what the Bible says, you should not have done that. You would have. It's really good to say, tell me more. What else are you going to do for this girl? Ask why she thinks that. She says, well, some people think, it's what he was just saying. Some people think, I'm gay because I look gay. I don't dress like, some girls dress. What are you going to say?
After that, I probably just tell her like it's not other people. It's
Yeah.
also like your relationship
Mhm.
with yourself and also with God.
Yeah. Okay, good. I like that. Somebody else. She's come to you. What are you gonna do?
That what you wear doesn't define who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Like growing up dressing like a tomboy, like
Uh-huh.
you dress in comfortable clothes that
Yeah.
feel comfortable to who you are. That doesn't define like your sexuality or
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah. It's really important that you have those kind of conversations with people, not just the tomboy illustration either, but it is important to everybody is different. So if somebody thinks he's gay, well, they're making a judgment without really getting to know that person. And there's a lot of people who, I have a son-in-law who played for a band called Augustana. They fronted for U2. He's the lead guitar player. He has, black fingernails. He wears his hair. I mean, in fact, you guys kind of look like a lead guitar player. People think he's gay. He's the least gay person. He's married to my daughter, right? But they think he's gay because he's kind of he dresses like a metrosexual. It's his vibe. So he has to live with that vibe because that's how he chooses to live. But he also has to realize that if he's going to choose to live with that vibe, then he's going to get some of that kind of stuff too. What else? Yeah.
I would also take her to like my office, just like if it's a private place.
Yeah.
And that's her business, and nobody else needs to hear
Yeah,
that.
right. No, I think, you're bringing up really good stuff as a counselor because, and we have to be careful. Like say, for example, me, when I first started in youth ministry, I would meet with women with the door closed and in private. I wouldn't do that anymore. So if you come to my office, there's a window. Somebody is always, there, if I ever am meeting with a woman or a young girl, which I don't meet with many young girls anymore, but if I'm meeting with the opposite sex, there is somebody in that office, not in the office, like right in the office, but I'm very careful It's funny, I'm going to be in Boise randomly enough on Friday. And I was in Boise at a school in Nampa, Idaho, which is where there's a Christian school there. And this girl comes up to me and tells me she was sexually abused. And I said, "Is that your youth worker?" And she said, "Yeah, it was a woman." And I said, "Would you mind if she sat at the table with us?" And we went and sat at a kind of like a park bench, picnic type table. And we had the conversation, but I had that woman there because even her talking, she's going to feel more comfortable talking to me about personal touch and things like that when there's somebody of the same sex in that room. So whenever you can do that, I think that's important. So, but they need privacy big time. And then they need to also know that you are not going to tell anyone. Now, if there is sexual abuse, if I change the story and a person came up to you and said, "So I was abused, my cousin touched me in a place that, wasn't right, my stepfather, abused me," all those kind of things, you got to make the call.
I'm calling the police.
Yeah, so what you do is you call Child Protective Services in whatever state you're in. There's a Child Protective, by the way, there's a Child Protective Services in Canada. I think they use a different name, but that's easy to find out. And you must call. So that's where it's hard. So I have somebody say to me, "I was abused," and I go, "Hey, I want to stop for just a moment, and because I want you to know that I am on your side. We can talk through it, but if you go any farther, I'm going to have to call, when this is done, Child Protective Services, because most of the time they don't want you to do that because the person has said, 'I will kill you, there's terrible things that they're said in this process, and you have to be really, really careful. And there's times when I knew what they wanted to say, but I said, I may have to call Child Protective Services, and they didn't talk to me because they weren't willing to. And I'm brokenhearted at that point, but what do I do? I got the law mandates that you do it, and frankly, it's the best thing to do, even though they don't think it's the best thing to do. They don't want their parents to know. They don't want anybody to know. They get raped, and then they don't want anybody to know. And really, the way for them to be healed is to go through that. Yeah, so it's hard. Okay. So a kid comes to you. Here's another one. I want your input. A kid comes to you at the youth group here and says, it could be a guy or a girl, and says, "So I've been going all the way with my boyfriend or my girlfriend, and one of us wants to stop and one of us doesn't want to stop." What would you say to them?
You need to go have an honest heart to talk very soon.
Dude, you could be a counselor. That's really good. What else? What else? What are you going to say to this person? You guys are so quiet.
First kind of thought was like, okay, well, why would I want to stop? Why would not? Not just like,
Yeah. I think it's really good. You got to have them talk it out. A lot of times, it's the one who wants to stop that's going to come to you, especially if you're at a youth group meeting. So why is he pushing you? Why is she pushing you? That kind of a thing. Because again, they're looking for some answers, but there's a story behind the story. So when you talk to somebody about sexuality especially, there's typically always a story behind the story. And you caught that really well.
Tell the person who's wanting to say no to just leave.
Yeah, right. I think that's really good, because if the person wants to say no, why are you staying in the relationship? I said something about emotional involvement that exceeds their maturity level. So they're not able to say, no, it's my body, my rules, and yet they've had pleasure. So it's hard. So they're torn. But you're giving them permission to walk away from the relationship. And sometimes that's the answer, sometimes it's not, but that's a good point. You guys are coming up with great points. You're just not, everybody's not. I'm thinking more people should be giving me some input here. Anybody else want to take a stab? So far, we're batting 1,000 here, because you guys are saying, yeah. Yeah. Sure, talk about boundaries. Right, yeah. Somebody says to me, we go up to Inspiration Point and, we just end up kissing and then we fondle and then we go too far. Well, don't go to Inspiration Point. I mean, I can't say it that way to them, but that is one of the things that you want to be able to say. Yeah. It's almost the story of the funny story that I showed you yesterday with in premarital where the guy is putting dollars in the closet, right? You know, that woman would have totally been with him that night in terms of, you know, and it's funny because that's a couple. I didn't know they were married. I thought we had hired actors. I'm like, man, those guys look like they really like each other. And then I find out it's a husband and a wife acting team. So I wasn't as awkward about them, you know, doing the kissing thing. No, key and critical. Okay, somebody comes to you, and so I'm going with another deal. Somebody comes to you and they say, so I just got a sext, because sexting is a big deal, especially among a lot of middle schoolers because they don't have the understanding of it. So I just got a sext, and so a boy just showed me his private parts, and now he wants me to show him mine, and he wants me to take off my clothes and send a picture on Snapchat, and I really like him, and I know that with Snapchat, most of the time, pictures can go away in 30 seconds. What would you do? What are you going to say to them? I'm going to give somebody else a chance, and I'll bring you in because you're killing it on every time you answer it. Yeah. Huh? Block the kid. Interesting. Okay. I like that. That's one. The beauty of block, we now have that access to that. Yeah.
I think it'd be important to like tell that girl like the consequences that would happen.
Yeah.
Because like if you tell her like that was good, just block them, but also like if that girl really likes the boy, then she's gonna be like, no, like I like him. Like why is it wrong to
Yeah.
send whatever back? So it's important to like give her the real facts of like this crap will happen.
Yeah. Okay. And what are give me some of the consequences. And others too. What are some of the consequences of sexting? Yeah. Yeah, go.
I think, and obviously it'll be like a girl coming to me, but I would definitely want to first open the conversation of like letting her know her worth and the like price that she was bought at. That
That's good.
any guy that is interested in that and like is pursuing that doesn't actually value her.
Yeah.
So that's probably how.
No, that's really helpful. Yeah, that'd be a helpful conversation, part of the conversation. Yeah.
I guess piggybacking off of that, like if he's not respecting you now,
Yeah.
and he doesn't know you well, and you're not in a relationship,
Right.
how do you think he's going to treat you
Right.
in a relationship?
Right. No, that's really good. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I would say to piggyback off of these two because they stole my.
They
They stole it.
Yeah.
Like I would add on to that. I would say, oh, I would not show him your body because that's exposing yourself and you're a bit too young for that right now.
Yep.
And then I would say, do you even know his real heart?
It's good. It's really good. Yeah.
To also jump on the piggyback, I think it's important to like what even Ian and Sarah were saying, like tell the girl how much she's valued and be like you can do better.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It's
Yeah.
kind of scumbag.
Right. He was kind of a scumbag. He didn't even go, do I have permission to send my private part? It's not exactly all that pretty, actually. So what are you doing here? What, you know, just all of a sudden go, what the heck is that? My daughter Heidi, that happened to her in middle school. She didn't know what it was that she saw. It was a weird picture. And we took that really seriously for her. And we ended up, you know, the kid got in trouble because that's illegal to do. And the kid wasn't even a boyfriend. She didn't even know who it was. She didn't know the name of it was just a phone number, but it wasn't a number that was in her. Well, she didn't have a phone. It was on a thing that she had on her computer. Yeah. So I saw another hand. Yeah.
Well, I was about to say that, like, sometimes girls just get random
Yes.
photos out of nowhere.
Right.
And then they're like, what do I
Mhm.
do? Like it happens all the time. It's crazy.
Sure.
It's like someone you don't even know.
Right.
It's like, and then you open the photo and it's like, what?
Right.
Like, and
Right.
then, like obviously you just block them.
Right.
But then in the situation where you like them, like
Yeah.
you didn't ask for
Right.
why are you even considering sending it back?
No, exactly, exactly. Let me tell you a true story. This happened with a kid in Boston. He was in 8th grade, and he and his girlfriend had been sexting. And it was Snapchat. So Snapchat, for example, Snapchat is the strongest sexting tool. And one of the reasons is because if you take a naked picture in 30 seconds, it's gone, except they take pictures of the picture. So it's there, right? So this girl and him had been doing that. They're in 8th grade. They don't even know what they're doing. And he then broke up with the girl, or she broke up with him. And he sent it to somebody in another state. From Massachusetts, he sent it to like a cousin in Rhode Island. And he gets arrested. And so today he's on the sexual abuse registry, probably until he's 40. It could be for the rest of his life. And he was just a dopey 8th grader not knowing what he was doing. He was just trying to be funny, sending this picture of his ex-girlfriend. And they called us because they thought we could maybe help them get this taken off, and we couldn't do anything. You know, honestly, he honestly made a goofy decision. He was not a bad kid. Well, he was a dumb kid, but he wasn't a bad kid. And he's now a sex offender. That's going to be on his, when he goes to college, it'll be there. When he gets a job, it'll be there. Whoa, his life has changed. So, you know, it's a hard thing. So we have to, you know, and part of that, and I'm not doing any work this year. Sometimes I've done this when I've been here at Anchor House, doing things on media, social media, the addiction to social media, some of that kind of stuff. I'm not doing any of it. But kids need to understand, like the top, YouTube is number one for kids. And YouTube has, it's an entree to soft porn. So if you typed in Lindsay Lohan with her top off, or you know, Miley Cyrus with her top off, you're gonna on YouTube you can find that. It's harder to find, but you can find it. So, you know, if a 14-year-old boy, I'm into really big time 14-year-olds today, but a 14-year-old boy says to another guy, "Do you want to see Miley Cyrus with her top off?" There's very few boys who would go, "No, I'm good." Okay, so they're going to go, "Yeah." Now on YouTube, so on YouTube they saw this. Now it can move to other things as well. But YouTube is number one. Number two is TikTok. So same with TikTok. TikTok, you know, there's influencers, people get their news from TikTok, but TikTok can also be a sex education tool. It can go down a road. Then there's Snapchat. Okay, then there's Instagram, then there's Facebook. So Facebook is kind of off. The reason Facebook is off is because their parents are on Facebook. They don't want to be on Facebook. Facebook by far in the world is the largest social media, but it's not with kids. So all of those what's hard about it is with soft porn, kids can see soft porn on all the things, on all the social media platforms that they're on, okay? So that's scary. Because again, they're going to see that and they're going to go, well, dang, Miley Cyrus is looking pretty, Miley Cyrus is looking pretty good. I wonder if I could find her on something else. And they're going to find her on another platform, or they're going to find a fake her, because today pornography and AI is working hand in hand. So it's not like, I remember being in Cabo. Our kids were in, our whole family was in Cabo, and my 3 daughters, who are beautiful, in my opinion, but my 3 daughters, some guy kind of slows down and whistles at him or something and goes to take a picture, and my girls go like that. And I go, why did you guys do that? I'm innocent dad. I mean, I didn't like the guy whistling at him, but they go, Dad, what they do is they put our faces and then they put a naked body on it. You know, we don't want to do that, of course. So, you know, Dad is not even thinking about that kind of stuff. So today, you know, even with AI, it's crazy. We have 2 podcasts at home. One is with me, and then the other is with a woman named Paige Klingenpill, who's awesome, and it's for parenting the littles. And she was telling me, she's a therapist, and she was telling me, a Christian therapist, and she was telling me that a guy left his wife and 3 kids over an AI relationship he had an AI relationship. So this is not a real woman, but she was doing all the porn stuff, and she was telling him how great he is, and if they were ever together, this is what he would do. This is AI. He knew it was AI, but he was getting so much affirmation that he ended up divorcing his wife. Now, he's not going to marry an AI person, but that's what he was so into. The world's weird. No, but I know somebody who has and said I should. Yeah. Is that, the story is kind of that kind of a story?
It's literally that, but it's just like so like normalized.
Right. Well, the AI, AI is crazy. Somebody sent me an AI from Guatemala yesterday, and it's me speaking Spanish. David would look at it and go, Jim speaks perfect Spanish. It's my voice, but it's not me. I mean, it's my AI voice doing a 30-minute interview on television. It's crazy today what you can do. But what it even does for the bodies, and oh my gosh, it's nuts. Okay, so I feel like we all need to go take a shower since we've been talking about sex and sexuality. This is a really important issue for you all. It's an important issue for you personally because you're in the stage of, when you get to be your age, you guys, I'm assuming, I know we have like a couple of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, but mainly some 20-year-olds in here too, 20-somethings, I should say. It's a real unique stage with your sexuality. And so you personally, but it's also a unique stage for the culture because you're living in a culture that goes against the grain of the Christian culture. You're here in Bible school. I'll just tell you, if I was at my church's Sunday school, and I go to a great church, I wouldn't have all of ones and a two and a 1, 2, and 1, 3. It's not going to be that case. You go back to your church, you all are not the norm when it comes to people who are trying to figure out not only their sexuality, but trying to figure out sexuality, period. So I hope this was helpful. I find that when we start talking about leading with love, practicing kindness, it kind of, people who even have disagreements with me, because I'm going to land with the ones, but people who disagree with me can at least say, at least this guy is having a birthday party for a gay guy and Kathy's brother would say that we are the greatest supporters of him, period. But he would also know that we would not be on the same page with the lifestyle that he's living. And it's not a great lifestyle, period. I'm not now talking about that. I'm just talking about, the amount of drinking or drugs or whatever that takes place in his life. A lot of pain, see. So what you want to do is, I think it's important if you're going to be Bible students like you are, to really have a good biblical view of human sexuality, okay? And again, you're not going to get a whole lot of that. I mean, there'll be other times, I'm sure, people wander in here. Like I just saw that there's a couple who's coming to talk about marriage, and that'll be cool. They'll be great. I know who they are, the Hammers, and they're great people. And it's kind of the Rick Friend group. But most of what you're not going to, and rightly so, you should be learning the Bible. You should be learning Acts, and you should be learning, Hebrews and all these kind of things. I mean, that's awesome. That's why you're here. But in here, you've got to make sure that you're bringing kids today, if you ever work with kids in youth ministry or whatever, they're thinking a lot more about sex than they are about Hebrews. I'll just tell you that right now, okay? So you've got to have a biblical view, and you've got to be able to talk to them with love and care and kindness and do what Jesus did. Follow the example of Jesus. He was harsh on the leadership, and he got angry, and he turned over the money changers and all that kind of stuff because they're in the temple. It went against the law. That's where he got angry. But with people who were sinners, he loved them, and he showed kindness to them. He didn't agree with them. He said to the woman who was caught in adultery, "Go and sin no more." Well, man, you get that. Showing people grace who live a different lifestyle than you. That doesn't mean that they're going to go do that. They're going to be so amazed by the grace of God that they're going to want what you want. So that's the story. We've got one more session with me. Sorry that you've had just me for a while, but we're going to do it on communication, and it'll be a really good session. It'll be different than this, so we're done on talking about sex and sexuality. I'm not done. If you want to talk to me about something in your own life or whatever, that's great. What I love about Anchor House is you don't have to rely on the teachers as much because you've got people that you can talk with. It's your people who are around you, your friends for one thing, but also super great people who are your RAs and things like that as well. So, but again, if you have something that you want to throw by me, don't hesitate. And so we'll take a break. Yep, it's time. We'll take a break. We'll take a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back in and talk about communication in terms of really one of the most important things. You are all communicators. Some of you communicate better than others, but you're going to learn a lot about communication in that 45 minutes, and they're all on scriptural principles, okay? Adios. Go back, take your naps, go play basketball. You guys crack me up what you do at your breaks.